And welcome to another edition of the Big Nick Energy Podcast. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on YouTube, Apple Pods, Spotify, and Podbean and Google Pods. Got a really, really special guest today. A super duper super Knicks fan, born and raised in Manhattan. That's the littlest part of any part of this man's life, though. He's on, you can find him on IMDB and Wikipedia. Ben Lyons, who probably has, I think, 20 to 25 things to his name, theatrically writing, filming, producing, podcasting. This man hosted every show in your mom's favorite show back in 2017. Ben, how are you doing today?
Thank you for the intro. I just want to see one Knicks title on that resume. I just want to be alive for one New York Knicks championship. That's all I want, man. No, I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and I'm a huge fan. Found you guys on Instagram. Love the work you do. Love all the work from the Knicks fan community. I feel like all the fan bases now have strong, podcasts and social accounts from diehard fans, but not like the Knicks. It's just different in New York. It's big Knicks energy.
Dude, it really is. The fandom of Knickshood is just unbelievable. And the range of opinionated stuff that goes on for everyone that just wants to see a championship, like you were just saying. We all just want to see a title. We all just have different versions of how to get there. And so far, no one's been right since 1973. So sooner or later, they'll figure it out, I hope.
Your lips to God's ears, your lips to a higher power's ears. I'll tell you, I am the son of New York City's biggest Boston Red Sox fan. My dad grew up in Manhattan as well, but he quotes a French philosopher who says, the heart has reason that reason itself knows nothing about. It explains why he skipped my high school graduation because Pedro was pitching, why it's going to say cause of death Boston Red Sox on his tombstone one day when he's not with us. But I saw him crumble in '86, crumble for Aaron Boone. Never thought he'd see it in his life. And he has 4 World Series. And when they beat the Dodgers, he had the audacity to say, well, they should have swept. So it gives me hope, honestly, as a Knicks fan. I say all of that because, like you mentioned, dude, 1973, that's before you and I were hanging out watching the Knicks game. So it's been a minute. My father, being a Red Sox fan, they were cursed. They had one of the great players in the history of the game named the curse after him. And if he can
almost 100 years worth,
if he can get 4 in his lifetime, then we can get 1. That's what I think.
That's the thing, man. Once you break through once, I feel like it gets easier. Even New York Giants fans saw two with Eli Manning.
Calm down. Let's not even just pump the brakes, okay?
I mean, I'm hoping to see one. I'm just hoping to see one. Miami Marlins have 2 in our lifetime. The Miami Marlins can't even pay for people.
Right. And the Vegas Knights have won. And
in 3 years.
Yeah, we're going to see. I mean, God, looking in the NBA, the Knicks right now that the Warriors got theirs, it feels like the Knicks are the most storied franchise that hasn't won in a very long time. Now Denver got theirs.
Yep. It might be in all of sports. Ben, before we deep dive all the way into Knicks talk, anyone that doesn't know you grew up in Manhattan, which is a crazy thing. Also, I looked up, you went to an all-boys school, which I thought the hyperbole and stereotypes of all-boys schools is they send you really, really far away from women. And going to an all-boys school in Manhattan seems like it defeats that purpose altogether. You don't have to get into that. But just growing up in the 90s in New York City, what were your favorite memories back then of New York City and the Knicks first and foremost?
Well, the Knicks defined so much of that era, obviously playing deep into May every year and occasionally into June. But people forget it wasn't just about the springtime playoff runs. When you have teams that win 50 plus games, that means the Garden's a hot ticket every night in December and January and February. So getting to go to a Knick game was such a special treat. It was such an occasion. And yeah, the fact that the team, was so competitive really fuels the economy in a city like New York. When I got older and we were in high school, we were running around trying to get into bars and stuff. The fact that the Knicks were on for a playoff game in May, like that was a fun Saturday night out in the city, and it brought a lot of business and goodwill. So I definitely look back and feel very lucky that my childhood here in New York, in high school, running around Manhattan and Brooklyn and all over the city was defined so much by just the Knicks winning, you had the Yankees winning too. Like I said, I'm a son of a Red Sox fan, so I'm not a Yankee fan, but I used to love cutting class on parade day. I'll tell you that much. It was an annual thing every October. So yeah, there was a lot of great sports. The Rangers finally won in '94. So yeah, a lot of my youth when you're probably at the height of your own just personal fandom and you're defining yourself as a fan. And back then, without social media and technology, what it is today, to really fight for information and for highlights, and the fact that
The
the
newspaper
Knicks,
mattered so much.
Frank Isola is a G. I listen to him every morning now with Scal on the starting lineup on NBA radio, and I love when he tells stories of covering the Knicks back in the 90s. He was telling a story today about how they used to take their court, the wooden court, from New York City and send it down to South Carolina for training camp, because down in Charleston they had those rubber courts, and so the team would send down on flatbed trucks their own wooden court. That would never happen today. But
now we take the court and we make John Mayer a guitar.
Or you put a court in Lincoln Center for Nike, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or you put a court in a football stadium for Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
No, to get into your question, I was very lucky to grow up the way I did in New York. Shout out to Collegiate, my high school, and getting to play basketball over throughout the city was a huge part of my memories when I look back at that time in my life.
Do you think part of the reason why New York is such a basketball city, and it's not even that it's a basketball city per se, it's that it's a Knicks city first and foremost, do you think it's because every other major sport cannibalizes itself? You have the Yankees and then the Mets, you have the Giants, then the Jets, you have the Rangers, then the Islanders, then the Devils. I mean, yeah, the New Jersey Nets and now the Brooklyn Nets exist, but the Knicks have been first and foremost the whole time. Do you think that might be part of it?
When you get a ticket to Madison Square Garden, you're at the center of the universe. It's not one of these stadiums that's out by the airport, that's on the side of the highway. I went to college, University of Michigan. The Pistons were really good back then, but they were playing at the Palace at Auburn Hills, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So you really you feel the heartbeat of the city when Knick games are happening. But then also too, living in California, living in Los Angeles, there's so many beautiful football fields, baseball fields, soccer fields that just go unused. That you drive by on a Saturday.
It takes 3 hours to get anywhere there too.
Well, so everything's spread out. Here you got basketball courts every 5 blocks. You're on top neighborhoods, communities. When you're a kid, there's not much to do other than just go by your neighborhood basketball court. So I think that's why it'll always be the city's game, and the Knicks were the city's team. They're right in the heart of the city, right in Madison Square Garden. So I think, and two, it's something that we didn't take for granted, but the Knicks are really an international brand. You go to the game, meet tourists from Germany and from, parts of Asia and parts of South America, all over the world. And they come to see a Broadway show, to go to a Knick game, to go to Central Park. It's been immortalized in movies, from the Matthew McConaughey movie with Kate Hudson to, Eddie, of course, which was, man, sometimes before Thibodeau, I was wishing that we were going to get Eddie to come and save this squad of derelicts. But yeah, the Knicks are an international brand. You wear that hat anywhere in the world, and somebody's going to say, "Hey, what's up, New York?" I was walking down the street in Australia in 2018, and a dude walked up to me. It was in November, and he goes, "Oh, Frank had a good night last night." I was like, "Wait." Frank had a good night? That's what I was surprised by. That Frank had a good night. Not that some guy in Australia knew that. I'd expect that now.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I want to bring up real quick the time. How long did you live in LA for before you moved back to New York?
Yeah, I lived out there for 15 years, which is wild.
That's a long time.
Yeah, the Knicks would come out to LA, and Tina Cervasio was covering the games. We would go and see Samuel Dalembert and those Malik Rose
teams.
Oh my God. And some tough teams out there while I was living in Los Angeles.
I want to ask you, man, because since you've lived in the 2 largest media markets in America. When you're in LA, and then you obviously have interacted with a lot of writers, a lot of sportscasters, a lot of other sports producers and hosts and stuff. How real is Knicks for clicks even when they suck? Is that a thing we over exemplify as the fan base? And because there's more Knicks fans than maybe any other fan that's not a Warrior, a Lakers, or a Bulls fan? Or is that a real thing that they do even when the Knicks shouldn't be a ticket to get any clicks?
It's funny, man, you say that. I find because of, like we talked about, the drought, it's been so long, they have found ways to stay in the headlines, sadly, the last 10 years, whether that's
there's always the tease.
Charles Oakley being arrested, missing out on Zion, whether it's signing Amari and then he turns into a fashion maniac and punches a fire extinguisher. There's just it always seems to just get worse, and we're banning Spike Lee. They kicked out Spike Lee for some reason, which was the dumbest thing ever. So I think that adds to it. But, I think what I've come to learn from talking to folks like yourself and watching all your content is that actually Knick fans are pretty level-headed. Like, we've been through a lot, so I don't think we're completely delusional. It's not all the bing bong dudes out on the streets screaming "fuck Trae Young" after every game, right? That's like a part of it now. But I felt like most of my Knick fans, they're not expecting the team this year to win the NBA title. It's not like we're Cowboys fans who are like, this is the Super Bowl every year. TJ Jefferson. Like, no, I think Knick fans are pretty level-headed and pretty realistic when it comes to their team. And to be honest, look, we celebrate teams that are like under promise and they over deliver, that these overachieving teams. That's why guys like Josh Hart ingratiate themselves to the city right away.
100%.
As opposed to when we've tried to stack the deck and put the super team together and it just doesn't work like at all ever in New York.
Josh Hart matches the filtration that is New York City way more than putting Stephon Marbury and Steve Francis on the same team.
Yeah, I was at the Garden for Stephon's first game with the Knicks. I believe his first game with the Knicks was in Cleveland, but the first game in the Garden.
Yep.
Are you kidding? This is the prodigal son come home. I mean, this is it, right? This is like the real life Jesus Shuttlesworth, Lincoln playing for the Garden. I think he scores the first 3 points of the game. They're playing the Rockets. Jeff Van Gundy's there. Like, it is I'm sitting. I can touch the a Dave DeBusschere jersey. Like, I'm in the top 400 section. And I think Marbury finished with 3 points, and they lost by 30 that night. I think it was one of the worst.
But you definitely remember the first shot.
Well, yeah, I was like, we got Stephon. I mean, I think when they got McDyess, and then he blew his knee out, and then went on to play the NBA Finals with Detroit after that.
Eddie Curry and Jerome James in the same offseason. What a great fiasco to go through there.
Grady and Dikembe Mutombo somehow found their way to the Garden, and we've had. Look, they've been bad the last however long. Nothing was worse than the Shandon Anderson, Howard Isley, Michael Doliak, Othella Harrington. Like, those teams were really bad.
We've gone through a lot as a fan base. We really have. I want to bring up, so real quick, anyone that doesn't follow you, definitely check out your Instagram first and foremost at Ben Lyons. Lyons is spelled with a Y, in case you haven't seen this man on any form of content making or TV in the past 25 years somehow. You have pictures with Carmelo Anthony, RJ Barrett, Jalen Rose, Adrian Brody, which doesn't really matter nearly as much for the sake of the sports podcast. You also wrote a piece and interacted with James Worthy.
There. Yeah, James, big game.
I know, but Adrian Brody's more of an actor than he is like a sports person. I was going to ask, out of either any of those or any other actor or athlete you've ever interacted with, what is the favorite story you have with an athlete you got to do a story or just hang out with from time to time?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I'm a fan foremost, right? I will always be a fan first and foremost. So I pinch myself often when I'm in these somewhat professional settings with folks. But I did a Nike event, a Jumpman event around All-Star Weekend when it was here in New York. It was with Carmelo, and they built this big LED build out where you could recreate any Michael Jordan shot. Game 6 in Utah, the North Carolina shot with James Worthy's teammate, right, back in college in the Superdome. You could recreate it on this big wall. There were all these sneaker bloggers, and the idea was Melo was going to come. He was going to do the LED experience, and then we were going to go off and do an interview. He gets there. It's Carmelo. He's like the coolest guy. So, of course, he's like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, Ben, you do this. He passes me the ball. We have it on film. It's the greatest athletic moment of my life. I recreate Jordan's Game 6. I made the shot somehow. I blacked out. Honestly, like, he starts laughing. It's ridiculous. That man knows how much I love him, how much I appreciate him. Just yesterday, I went to the Brooklyn Museum to check out the Spike Lee exhibit, which everybody should go see if they have a chance in New York. I went with my mom, and of course, there's a whole section of it that's just all about the Knicks. And I took a photo in front of the Melo jersey. And my mother's like, wow, you're in this world famous art museum. And of course, you find like the Carmelo jersey, you know? But look, James Worthy has become a good friend through the game of golf, oddly enough. And what's amazing about
that's the retired man's game.
You know, was playing golf with James. What's amazing, the difference between him and folks like you and I is that when he could always play golf, but he really like tried to take it up the last 5 years. And when he's really going through that, he'd play 18 holes at 6 a.m. And then while everyone else is going about their day, going to work, doing what they got to do, he's back to the driving range and on the putting green training.
Oh my God.
It's that athlete mentality of, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to master it. And sure enough, that handicap dropped and dropped and dropped and got his knee replaced. And James is really good and can get after it. So that's something I learned, just having that access to athletes, even something like that, just a weekend golfer. Oh wait, they approach it with a dedication and a heart and a work ethic that, is really remarkable when you see it up close.
What is the funniest athlete story you have, and why is it most likely with Jalen Rose?
No, definitely. Well, Jalen called me. Yeah, here's the funniest story. Okay. Jalen called me, and this is so Jalen. He calls me on a Wednesday. He says, "Yo, family, what are you doing Friday?" I was like, I don't know. I'm here in LA. He goes, "Do you want to be in my family on Family Feud?" I was like, all right, cool. Like, that sounds fun. Like, I went to the University of Michigan, and now I'm going to be in Jalen Rose's family on Family Feud. My mother's like cracking up at this, right? So I go, and they asked Jimmy King. The question was, what does a man buy a woman a pair of? And I said earrings. I think it might have been the number 2 answer or something like that. And they said to Jimmy, and Jimmy King said, a woman buys a man a pair of bras. 2 bras. And we were like, Jimmy, no. And Steve Harvey milked that for like 10 minutes. They edited it down to like 30 seconds. And every time I see Jimmy King, I'm always like, 2 bras.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
That's a good one. I don't know. It's wild, man. I got a chance to work down at Turner and to be around, Channing Frye and Kevin Garnett when he was down there, and Isaiah and all the TNT guys, Smitty, Steve Smith, and I were going back and forth on the Michigan State football game this weekend. Yeah. Shout out to Coach Harbaugh.
Rough for him.
Tough one for Smitty. He's like, yeah, come out here in January for basketball. We'll see things a little different. But just getting to be a fly on the wall down there, I think what Turner does is incredible. They're the best coverage of all sports, really. And yeah, just a lot of good people down there, and just to be a fly on the wall when, Rod Strickland comes in and he's debating, who are the best point guards of his generation. You just sit there and be quiet, and just kind of sit in the back and let those guys have all the shine.
You get to live the real life version of what people like me watch on YouTube that's like 4 million views. That's like so cool.
Yeah, I have a story I tell all the time. It's a life lesson. I'll share it. So down at Turner, they pick you up at the hotel. They take you to the studio, right? So I'm in a Sprinter van. It's me, Brendan Haywood, Gary Payton, and Quentin Richardson. So I'm like, this is awesome. We're driving to work. We stop at a much nicer hotel. I'll just put it like that, right? And Gary Payton, and we pick up Channing Frye. And Gary Payton, being Gary Payton, said, "Hey, Channing Frye, why are you staying here? You can do anything in the league. I'm Gary Payton." Like, he's Gary Payton, And Channing looks back. He says, "Well, Gary, did you ask to stay here? Closed mouths don't get fed, Gary." And everyone's like, "Oh." Honestly, I saw Channing this summer. I was at a work event and saw him this summer. And I was like, dude, thank you for that life lesson, because it has stayed with me. You asked me to come be on this pod. We talked about it. If you had not asked, I would not have come on. I don't know.
100%.
You got to ask, and you got to speak up for what you want. It's hard sometimes. You feel shy. You feel bashful. You feel like, oh, I don't belong. And that is a life lesson. Thank you, Channing Frye, that it will stay with me for the rest of my days.
Banner actually talks about me this all the time, because I'm the one that is always skittish about asking people like yourself. And then he goes, dude, you have the ick. You have to get over the ick. And then once you get over the ick, you belong. You just belong wherever you think you belong. And that's it. I love that.
Those mouths don't get fed. Channing Frye. There you go.
I got to ask you, Ben, before we get into full on Knick stuff, because you did go to Michigan.
You could tell I was chomping at the bit before. You could tell I was excited. I
didn't even dive into all the questions I got. Yeah, this is super exciting. I do want to ask real quick. Jim Harbaugh and Michigan managed to find themselves in these, I'll say, situations. He's not suspended again. He's not suspending himself. What do you think of the Stein stealing, and how stupid is it that college football can't do something that college basketball does every day?
Look, I don't know the details of this heist or whatever this whole espionage thing was, but I don't
Great
know.
word for it.
Aren't the purpose of signs to communicate in secret? But if someone then figures out what those mean, then come up with.
You got to change the sign.
Change the signs. Yeah. It's a little I don't know. What are you gonna do? I don't know, man. They got the toughest schedule in the country the next 4 weeks. It's been kind of a cakewalk to this moment, but not to go down the Michigan football rabbit hole. At Penn State, you got at Maryland, and you got that school from Ohio coming to town. So I think we got our work cut out for us the next couple of weeks. It doesn't matter what signs they're stealing. 49-0. It's not the signs.
Yeah, no shot. No, if it was 21-14, maybe you could say something. 49-0, you had no chance. Ben, all right, let's do it. Let's get into the Knicks stuff. I got some quick hitters, and I want to let your fandom run free.
How you feeling? You feeling good? You excited? You feeling good?
I'm good. I'm feeling good, buddy. I already predicted them to get 50+ wins. If they lose in the first or second round, I mean, they're not the Bucks, they're not the Celtics. Like you said before, we're not winning the title this year unless something crazy happens to a lot of people. I don't see it happening. We need Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid to all get season-ending injuries within a month of each other, and then even then they wouldn't be the favorite, and I don't root for that. So that's probably not happening. First off, who's your favorite Knick of all time?
Carmelo Anthony. Are you kidding? This man came here when no one wanted to come. The year he leads the NBA in scoring and finishes third in MVP voting. He's surrounded by the oldest team in the history of the sport. I was there the night we celebrated Jason Kidd's 40th birthday in the Garden. 35-year-old Pablo Prigioni. Give me a break. Shout out to Melo. I love him. I wish it could have ended better, but I love when he gets love now in the Garden. That's the way it should be.
We had Chris Copeland on the podcast about a month and a half ago, and he was the second oldest rookie in the league behind Pablo Prigioni, who was the oldest rookie in the league.
Shout out to Chris Copeland. Just recently, I took a red eye from JFK, saw him on the air train.
Oh, sick. Where were you guys going?
Very smart move there, Chris, because a lot of people, they take these Ubers off the red eye and just get stuck in traffic.
No, air train. I love that.
And congrats to Chris. He had his child. So congrats, Chris.
Oh, look at that. Shout out to Chris Copeland. I saw him in Summer League in 2012 or something like that. Man, that guy was dope back then.
Had a shot. And then who's your favorite currently?
Look, I've been saying that RJ Barrett is the chosen one. First of all, phenomenal dentist. Kid's got a great smile.
Great, yeah, for sure.
Healthcare in Canada or what. Was born the day I graduated high school. Another collegiate shout out on this podcast. So I think it's his destiny. Look, it's going to be in year 5 now. Is this year 5 and he's 23?
Yeah.
I want to see him. We all want to see him take that next step. I think he's really solid. He gets a lot of criticism. He's under the microscope, but it's the first round draft pick they've re-signed, since Charlie Ward. So we're seeing a kid develop. I think they got him on a good deal. He's my favorite current Knick. I love RJ Barrett.
What is the favorite game you've ever gone to?
I had a chance to host what they called the blue carpet, right? This was an arrival on 7th Avenue for different guests of the Knicks that night. It was the Lakers, Knicks, the night that Jeremy Lin went for 38.
Oh, when he spun Derek Fisher into oblivion.
And Ashanti sang the national anthem. And she was upset, apparently, that she got second row seats. So I guess she bounced. And so me and Peter Rosenberg, shout out to Peter, we sat in the second row for that game, which I never get to do.
Was it because she left? You just took her seats?
Yeah, she bounced. So they were like, take Ashanti seats. I was like, sick. I never get to do that. Like I told you, I sit upstairs. Like people think all the time because what I do and I'm a fan, you get the Spike Lee seats. And I'm like, NYU Film School seats. So to see that game up close with Melo out and Amari was out, and they had no chance to win that game. The Lakers had just played up in Boston the night before, and Kobe, God bless him, said, who? About Jeremy Lin. And I have the framed Daily News. It says Kobe who and Jeremy Lin for 38. That was the best.
That's awesome. That is so sick. During Linsanity.
How about you? What's the best game? Yeah, what's the best game you've been to?
I've only been to a couple of games. The most one I went to most recently was I actually went in Denver to see, because Nikola Jokic is my favorite non-Knick player, and now that he's actually as good as he is, I can't say that anymore because it's almost like cliche or like I joined the bandwagon. I liked him when he was still fighting for minutes with Nurkic or whatever. Like not the same thing, honestly. But dude, that was really cool to see. It's really cool to witness absolute greatness in person, and he is great.
That's cool. That's cool. So you saw them last year in Denver for their during their championship run, or what?
2 years ago. Last year he didn't play in the game in Denver.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But he he's a crush Porzingis. Like that's
Oh,
when
yeah.
I'm really thinking
Hey,
like,
you guys mind if I throw my favorite game in here?
yeah,
Sure,
what do you
Vinny.
got
Yeah, go
there?
ahead.
All right. It was the year Rasheed Wallace was on the team, and we were up easily, I think like 40 points. And Rasheed got the red light or the green light, and Rasheed just shot like 5 3-pointers, was hitting them left to right. The Gardner was screaming Sheed. It was the best. That was probably my favorite game to be at.
Mike Berman's least
I
favorite Nick,
saw him
Rasheed
talking
Wallace.
about that. Did he talk about that on a podcast recently? Because they were showing something where the whole crowd was calling for him to come in, and he went nuts. That again, 2013 Knicks, they brought back Rasheed Wallace. Dude.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Like 3/4 of their rotation was over the age of 33 years old. It is something. All right. We don't have a single person in the rotation over 30. And when the last time we had a team reach the second round of the playoffs, everyone was over 33 mostly, except for Amon Shumpert and Chris Copeland. And almost Landry Fields, who lasted for about a month and then is now a GM.
Done. Look, it's been so long since they've developed guys, and they're doing that now. Quentin Grimes, he's like in the weight room, and Deuce is getting better, and they re-signed Mitchell Robinson, and I think Jericho Sims is back. Like they've got continuity, which they hadn't had for a long time, and they hadn't drafted well in my entire lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, to get 25th picks back to back and have them be actual useful players, that would have never happened in Knicks folklore in the 30 years prior to that.
No.
What is your favorite arena you've been to that's not MSG or the crypto arena / Staples Center?
That is a great question. I have to say I haven't been to a tremendous amount of them. I do enjoy the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans.
New Orleans, right? Yeah.
Because
I love the name.
You can walk with a roadie to the stadium down there. That's kind of a good time. Went there for All-Star weekend. But yeah, to be honest, like I've only had the privilege of going to maybe 6 or 8 arenas over my time, in Detroit, obviously I mentioned, in Miami, where they have a Michael Jordan jersey retired for no reason. Like and it's the script jersey. It's like the 85 jersey. I don't know what that's about. But yeah, I mean, nothing beats, like I said, world's most famous, man. It's really, really special.
And then these are a little bit harder. Hopefully you don't stir any feathers or anything. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. Better Knicks coach, Mike D'Antoni or Tom Thibodeau?
Oh, Mike D'Antoni was a blast, but it wasn't gonna last. It's Tom Thibodeau. He's now sustained this. I think D'Antoni was just, hey, let's just flash in the pan and see what we can get on the other side. No, I'm not a D'Antoni guy.
Different question then. Tom Thibodeau or Mike Woodson?
Man, I have my heart because of Melo was on those Woody teams, but Tom's the dude. Tom's a serious coach, and I really love just the culture flip, and it starts with him. And I'm in on Tibbs. He might be, I guess, Riley. Could he be the second best coach?
I don't want to even mention that man. Honestly, it's still
he faxed his resignation. It's pretty disappointing. But I guess Van Gundy. So I go Van Gundy, Riley, I guess, and then Tibbs.
Speaking of Van Gundy, what do you think about him randomly joining the Celtics staff? How much does that hurt? It's not like Riley going to the Heat or anything by fax, but it still hurt a little bit.
Yeah, but we've tried to do that. We tried to do that with Phil to an extent, and it didn't work, right? I think Van Gundy is incredible, and it's going to be a wonderful thing for Boston. And we're not there yet. We have a creative director. We got Ronnie Feig, right? We got Ronnie doing a gift thing. We got a creative director. What do we need Jeff Van Gundy for?
Yeah. We also have a capologist. We have statisticians now. We actually have a pretty decent front office for the first time in a while. Although I do wish somehow, some way, our coach was Jay Wright instead of Tom Thibodeau. Just get a full Villanova in there. But I think Jay Wright's going to stay retired for good.
Soon as things start to go south, that's going to get talked about, obviously. And we all want to see
start out 10 and 15. I mean, for sure.
The Mark Jackson thing would be great just to get it done with. I love the idea of Kenny Smith, but that'll never happen. But no, I think we're in good hands with Tib right now. I mean, look, they play their guys. Like, they're young, they play, and they play long minutes, and they're not incredibly deep. I'm worried about them up front, to be honest. They got to get something out of Jericho Sims. Because right now it's just what Randall, Mitchell Robinson, and
Josh
and,
Hart playing small ball
yeah,
4. Yeah.
and Hartenstein, and that's it. And it's like, I mean, Josh Hart can rebound. He had 19 against the Knicks last year, but he averaged 8 last year. They need some size up front, I think, and I'm a little nervous about that.
If Randall gets hurt, and this sucks to say because it's like Randall shouldn't be the most important player or second most important player on the team. It should 100% be Jalen Brunson. But because of the way they set up the power forward position and his backup, if he gets hurt, the season is almost shot, in my opinion. It might be ruined.
Well, dude, you mentioned Randall. I'm glad you brought it up about who's the most important. What's so weird about this group is, unlike any other basketball team, I think, in the history of mankind, who's their best player?
It's Jalen Brunson most of the time, except for let me rephrase. It's Julius Randle in the first quarter. It's Jalen Brunson in the second quarter. It's RJ Barrett in the third quarter and half of the fourth quarter. And then it's Jalen Brunson again in the fourth quarter. What sucks about that is that you don't want 3 cooks thinking they're the main cook.
Right. And either thinking they're the main cook or thinking the other guy's the guy. Every basketball team from the age of 10 years old on, you know who the guy is on that team or the girl is on that team. And I just think it's so peculiar. I mean, they were the only team in the league. This was 2 years ago before Brunson got there. They were the only team in the league that had 5 guys score 40 points in a game.
Yeah.
Then you add Brunson, and it's great to have Quickly go off one night or RJ go off one night or whatever. But like, you want to know who the best player on your team is, and it's just kind of odd. And if it is Jalen Brunson, then they got problems.
I mean, it's cool to do in the fourth quarter, and it's just not cool to do in the playoffs. It is what it is. To rely on a 6'1" guy. There's only been a couple that made the finals like that, and they've all lost except for Isaiah Thomas, which goes directly into my next question. Who was worse for the New York Knickerbockers, Phil Jackson or Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah, okay. So funny story about Phil Jackson during his time with the Knicks. He actually lived in my parents' building. And
interesting.
I used to get his movements from the doormen of when he would be leaving for practice or when he'd be coming home. And I would stay for the game. They would lose. I would walk out. I always slap the thing when I walk out. And then you get on the 1 train and you head uptown and I'm home. And the doorman would be like, "Oh, you just missed Phil." And I'd be like, "Wait a minute. Doesn't he have to like talk to somebody or watch something, or doesn't he have to do something?" Like,
they're like, no. He just left. He wasn't coming back.
Yeah. Like, how am I getting home after the game? This is crazy. So no, I'm not. I'm the Phil thing was not. And he said he didn't vote while he was here too. He said he was too busy watching film or something. He didn't vote since Bill Bradley was running for president in '88.
There's no shot Phil Jackson was busy watching too much film. I refuse to believe that.
He fleeced us out of 60 mil out of that one.
I mean, that's on Dolan, man. He fleeced himself out of $2 billion for the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life on the internet now, which is the Sphere. So that's pretty cool, but also his money, not mine, you know?
Yo, he fleeced us out of some nice draft picks too, I got to say.
He did draft Porzingis. I did slip a note under his door that year saying, "Please draft Justice Winslow. I think he'll be a good LeBron stopper." So what do I know? But yeah.
I love that you really slid a note under his door.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah. I'm like I told you, a real fan, man. Real fan first. I was like, I thought Justice Winslow would be such a good move to guard LeBron, but what do I know?
Dude, I love that. Ben, one last question, more exactly today based, and I'm going to give you a free runway of what you think the Knicks will do this year. So the Knicks did not sign Emmanuel Quickley to an extension. He's going to be able to test out restricted free agency, whether that means he gets traded midseason to someone that actually wants his rights to restricted free agency or needs point guard play or backup guard play during the season, so be it. But what is your take on the Knicks not extending Emmanuel Quickley after they both signed DDV in the offseason and gave Josh Hart an extension?
Totally fine with it. I'm okay with it. He's going to play his way to the bag. You know, earlier in the show, we talked about how I'm nervous about what they don't have up front. Not worried about the backcourt. They got a lot of talent from Grimes to Quickley to Brunson, RJ back there. Like, they got some pieces. Fournier, who you could maybe go as for Halloween. He'll get you like 2-3 wins.
I've been told that before.
He'll get you 2-3 wins a year, right? 2 years ago against Boston.
Hey, he was one of those 5 that scored 40 plus in a game.
Exactly, right? He'll get you 2 nights a year where he'll just shoot crazy and win you a game. So they got a lot of talent in the backcourt, and I think for Quickly, he's a talented dude. Let's see if he can do it consistently. Let's see if he can do it on defensive end. And let's
in the
see
playoffs. In the
Yeah,
playoffs.
well, he's also dressed like, he's on the set of Blade or something. Like, you look at his Instagram, his Fashion Week outfits in France are crazy. So let's calm down the fashion and let's see what we can do on the court. I love him. I think he's amazing, and I hope they do re-sign him. But I don't think it was necessary to do right now.
I agree they didn't need to just do it now. I do think he's going to leave as a restricted free agent because especially if they just you can't have like 80 mil coming off the bench. It just is almost physically impossible unless Dolan wants to give another billion to the NBA like he gave $2 billion to Vegas. It's really on him, but I don't see it happening.
How does Devin Booker come to town? Do the math, make it make sense.
It's Barrett or Randall because they both make almost the exact same. It's most likely Mitchell Robinson. I've already done this a couple times. It's literally 3 players. It's Randall or Barrett. It's Fournier. It's Mitchell Robinson. It's probably a 4th player, whether it's Quickly, McBride, or someone like that they're like up and comer. 3 unprotected firsts and 3 pick swaps at the very least. I've already done the trade machine a couple times.
Where do I sign up? That's who I want next.
If we got to keep one of Barrett and Randall, and then we have Brunson, Booker, and one of those guys, and then Hartenstein as our starting center instead of Mitch, I think we can go somewhere.
Figure it out. Whether it's this year, next year, 2 years from now, I think he's the dude who comes to save the day.
That is the dude I've been pining for over a year. I'm so glad you mentioned it. I didn't even have to ask you. This is so being clipped.
I told you, I'm a fan of your work, man. You guys do great stuff.
I actually was going to ask you who you would hope the Knicks would get. Is that the answer?
Yeah, I think Devin Booker would be the guy. I would love to see him in New York. He's young enough. That's the thing, right? He's like, when you get some of these guys on the wrong side of 30, it's just trying to make it happen, and it's too late.
Embiid scares me with his knees and his age, and I think that's too soft, man.
You know what I don't care about with the Knicks, Vince, you'll appreciate this. It doesn't impress me you grew up in New Jersey. Like,
thank you.
Like Karl Anthony Towns, Kyrie. I know that's how they got Bill Bradley back in the day in a territorial draft pick. But come on, like
that ended in the 60s.
Well, listen, for the casual, I think like Obi being from here and leaving, that hurt, right? We got rid of the homegrown kid. But he's always
leaking out on fast breaks anyway. He's always leaking out trying to get breakaway dunks like
playing the wrong sport.
I was watching the Cavs real quick before I let you do the whole, what do you think the Knicks are going to do? I was watching the Cavs Pacers game the other night because I literally just wanted to watch Mitchell. I wanted to watch Obi, and I was like trying to scout just for the sake of like podcasts and content and stuff. And I feel like the two of them will be major talking points and rivals for Knicks fodder throughout the year. Literally, I don't know if it was Eddie Gill or if it was their other like play-by-play guy that like they have on once in a while. He literally went on a 3-minute rant about Obi leaking out. And this was for a dunk for his 12th and 13th points on the game. He goes out like leaking out and he's like, Rick Carl's not going to go for that during the year. He better not do that too much. We need to get him inside and bang for 3 minutes. And this is their play-by-play guy for the Pacers talking about Obi Toppin. And I'm like, I'm glad I'm not the only one that sees this. Thank you.
Well, yeah, we'll just wait till he realizes the guy shoots more 3-pointers than he has dunks, and you start to realize, oh boy,
they're already having him camp in the corner, man. They're already having him do
Obi. He holds a special place in everyone's heart. We all love Obi. We get it. He did the video with the Akiway guy. Like, it's great. But like, come on. Like, we're trying to put something together serious here. We got a shot to make a real step, I think. And look, the Dante DiVincenzo signing, it's not sexy, but it's solid, man. He's another gamer like Josh Hart. The Villanova thing is real. I love these dudes' mentality. They're pro dudes. They're ballers. They're professionals. They're grown-ups. That's like a big thing in New York. It really is. As you get older and you start to go out more and you start to see things and hear things, like to have guys who are about their business, both on the court and off, that means a lot. So I love the crew they have together. It's going to be tough in the East, man. You're scouting Indiana. They're getting good. Miami, of course. I wish DeRozan came a couple of years ago. I love him. But look, here's my goal. It's not so much about expectations. It's more about challenges, right? Because they're doing two things in my lifetime and your lifetime that they've never done, right? They're developing, which is really cool. And they're having some continuity. It's the same guys playing together. So let's let this percolate a little bit. I want to challenge them to be a top 6 team. I want to challenge them to win a first round series. I think that is, if we can, after that, I know that's what they did last year, but if they can do that again, I'm good with this season.
It also establishes to the whole league that they're capable of doing it over and over again.
Right. Sustained excellence. Like let's continue to win playoff series, play deep into May, win 50 plus games, like have an all-star, all those things. So yeah. And let's not trade everybody in the future for Karl Anthony Towns. So if they do that, if they can survive the season without Karl Anthony Towns on the team, I think it's going to be a big year.
Ben, are you running my burner account on Twitter? I don't understand. Are you tweeting for me at some point?
I'm telling you, man, fan of your work, Big Knicks energy, dude. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. Vin, you have a question for Ben?
Yeah, Ben, I had a question. I feel like this is going to be touched on a lot more through the season, and it's not so basketball related in a sense. Our man, Clyde Wall-Frazier. We might be looking at the beginning of the end of this man's career, right? He's not doing away games. I imagine we all grew up with his voice. I hear his voice in my dreams, right? You do know anything we don't know?
Look, I appreciate the art of announcing so much. My dad's best friend is Joe Castiglione. He's the Red Sox radio announcer for 48 years now or something like that. And Joe doesn't travel as much as he used to. And, he picks his spots, but the knowledge and the expertise and the comfort and the ease. I mean, boy, Clyde just, we're so spoiled. We get Mike Breen and we get Clyde, and not only just in terms of his, unique personality as a broadcaster, but just in terms of how accomplished he was as a basketball player. Like I learned a lot about his career from watching the games. Well, they'll say, oh, it's the first time a Knick has gone for this amount of points and assists since you did it here in, Phoenix and whatever. It's just amazing how he's not celebrated enough when you're talking top 75 or top.
He had
100.
Almost a triple double in Game 7 of the finals and won the game. He's an amazing dude.
Game is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's, I lived in LA when Vince Scully was calling Dodger games and then ultimately retired. So he's not retired yet. He's still there. He's doing the games. You see him on the bike on the games. He's off. He's still there in the tunnel, like at the Garden. I love him, and I hope we get to have him on the call, but I do love the fact that we'll get Mark Jackson now, or we'll get Kenny Smith for some games, or I even like Wally, a Long Island guy. So, the Nets do a great job too. Their broadcast, they lost Michael Grady, who's terrific and went to Minnesota, but with Isola and Sarah Kustak and Ryan, like they do a really good job too. So, we're spoiled in that respect here in New York with, I think, the best local broadcast team in the league. But yeah, I hope we get more Walt Clyde. It's tough for Clyde though, Vince, when they're like, oh, there's Dylan Brooks signed an $80 million contract over the summer. That'd be nice. And you're just like, man, that's got to be tough because
man signed for like 12 grand back in the day. What was his
contract? $10,000 for 2 years?
Yo, he'd be a max player right now, right? You think about that with a lot of these guys. It's tough. He's like, oh, there's Zach Collins just signed a 2-year, $35 million deal.
Cole Anthony signed for 3 for $39 million today.
Night, it's tough.
Ben, last question we have for you officially.
Let's go.
What is your official take, wins and losses, and what do you think the Knicks accomplish in the postseason this year?
And feel free to go off, Ben.
Yeah, if you want to go on a tangent, absolutely.
Yeah. This is one of those, like when you go out to eat, you're like, there's like what I should order and what I want to order, right? Like I want a 50-win season and I want them to be a top 4 seed this year. Last year, they were 5th. This is me being older, guys. Like I'm feeling like it's really going to be 43 wins and a 7 seed. And then they're going to play Miami or something in a play-in. And it's going to be like, like it's going to be one of those years. I think
it's a mini fall from grace.
The year after Melo won the scoring title, that was the disappointing year. They won 37 games after they won 54. Like that, I am expecting that. I'm hopeful for a 50-win season and a first-round home court. I'm hopeful. I'm expecting a play-in and 43 wins and some injuries and some gross.
Ben, can we get
I'm hoping that we don't have that happen because they went through it 2 years ago. They had the COVID 4th seed and then they fell off and didn't make the playoffs the year after with most of the same team. I'm hoping they just learned from that and don't have that fall through again.
We need a disclaimer on how long Ben has been going through this misery, though, right? Because there's some people who became fans 5 years ago.
No, look, I'm a little older, right? Like I remember the Bomb Squad. I mean, they bring out the Bomb Squad and they give them honorary jackets of like Gerald Wilkins and Johnny Newman for winning a first round playoff series against the Sixers. Like it's been a long time. I've seen 2 finals, obviously, in the 90s. But it was really those years of Doliak, Howard Isley, Shandon Anderson. Those years really were heavy because I lived across the street from the Garden and you could get $10 tickets in the upper deck then.
Yeah.
But to go see Othella Harrington and Clarence Weatherspoon, like that was tough. So anything's better than that, man. Anything's better than that. But yeah, I mean, look, when you trade a first round draft pick and Steve Novak for Andrea Bargnani, like you're doing this to yourself. You know, and that was the thing with Porzingis. They didn't have a first round pick on either side of him. And Jaren Jackson gets drafted. He comes out on that stage, right? He's got "Rock the Vote" on his jacket. What an amazing statement to the league, to the world, that I'm here, I'm in the NBA, I'm a voter, I'm civically minded. I was to think the number 4 pick. The number 9 pick that year was the New York Knicks who drafted Kevin Knox on the inside.
He had a Fortnite, effing Fortnite.
So you got the guy with the Rock the Votes who just played for the national team and got a max deal, and you got Fortnite who just got cut. So there you go. That's the Knicks.
2 bits of info for everyone. Just so everyone knows that is a younger listener, Othello Othello Harrington and all those dudes, when they played for the Knicks, it was like 2001 to 2005, 2006-ish. It was basically when they got Stephon Marbury, realized that he wasn't the savior, and then it went downhill for a while. And also, Walt Clyde Frazier made $300,000 in his whole career.
But was
some guys make that in like 2 games now.
First athlete with a signature shoe, I think, is Puma, the Clyde, right? The Walt Clyde Puma was the first athlete with a signature shoe, had the Rolls Royce and the mink, was doing something right back then. Studio 50.
While we're on that,
Clyde had fun in the city. And
he was doing fine, yeah.
While we're on that, Julius Randle Skechers, I love it.
Yo, Skechers making a move, right? Everybody's coming for this market share. They're going with Joel Embiid. Here's the thing about Randle. No one talked about this. The guy had a second kid, and he's a very present father. He didn't have a night nurse. The guy's doing this overnight teething. He's got these feedings with his wife, and they're very involved in the kids. His son's, obviously, we've seen his son is a handful. Yep. He's a very present dude. So let's give him a little slack on the season 2 years ago. You know,
people that hate Randle or choose to hate Randle will not give him a single excuse unless he actually gets a 30-point game in a postseason game. It is what
I love Randle.
You have 10 kids and
body language. We got to improve the body language.
100%.
Listen, I got to tell you, as a new father, that's how I move around. I look just like that when I go to the grocery store.
You're not making millions, man. You're not in front of people.
No, just like you gotta humanize them, man.
Oh my God. Yeah, tell that to every hater there is out there, because there's a bunch. There is a bunch. Ben, this has been great.
I hope your little one gets to see a Knicks win in their lifetime.
Hey, on the day she was born, we got to watch the Knicks beat the Celtics together.
Ah, look at that. That's nice.
Wait, are you having another kid in 2 days, Vin? That might be a good omen.
No. God, no.
Okay. Fair enough. Ben, feel free to plug whatever you are doing right now, and then thank you so much for coming on. What are you up to these days?
I'm still believing that RJ Barrett's going to make the Hall of Fame. I really do. I really believe he's going to make the Basketball Hall of Fame, and it starts with a title in New York. No, I don't want to talk about myself anymore. I just want to talk about the Knicks with you guys. I'm out here doing my thing. I'd love to come back. And sometime during the season, we'll do a little check-in, and we'll see if Mitchell Robinson can stay healthy. We'll see if Quentin Grimes can be like a real starter in this league, and we'll see if they can get an all-star to play out in Indiana. That'd be nice this year.
With your bubbly personality and your belief, I know the perfect time to bring you on. It's going to be the week before Christmas, before they play the Bucks back-to-back, and we lose 2 games in a row. How does that sound?
They get the Bucks on Christmas. They get Giannis in the Garden.
They get the Bucks on December 23rd and 25th back-to-back.
Oh Oh boy, Lillard in the Garden on Christmas. At least we don't get Quincy AC trying to fight John Wall or whatever that was the year he
Oh
got
my
kicked
God.
out of the Garden on Christmas. That
At
was
least
fun.
they're not so bad. They took the Knicks off Christmas altogether. You know how bad you have to be as a New York team to not get that slot?
No, it's like the Lions not playing on Thanksgiving. Like, come on.
They lost 3 games one year. They still played on Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll check in around then, and the season will still be going well at that point. But yeah, we got expectations. We're all just very nervous right now. We're all like you, Vince. We're all like new dads right now, just kind of like, our new kid is really good. What do we do?
Yeah, right.
How does this go wrong?
It will go wrong. They will get hurt.
They do become teenagers. Yeah, they do, because they do want the keys to the car. Yeah,
Yes.
Exactly.
As long as it's RJ Barrett figuring out how to shoot before he gets the keys to the car altogether, that's all I need.
Please, from your lips to a higher power. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks for letting me talk some junk with you guys, and keep up the good work. Yeah.
Ben, thank you so much, man. Much
brother.
appreciated. And let's
Cool.
go Knicks. Peace.
Let's go Knicks. Peace. Big Knick energy.
Recording stopped. Or not. Ben doesn't know where the buttons are right now.
Get out.
Thank you so much, Ben Lyons, for coming on. That was fantastic. Make sure if you're listening to this that means you fast forwarded. And now I'm doing part 2 of my over-unders, which I already, just to reiterate from part 1, we did the Hawks under 42.5, the Celtics over 54.5, the Nets under 37.5, the Hornets under 31.5, the Bulls over 37.5, the Cavs over 50.5, the Mavs under 43.5, the Pistons under 27.5, the Nuggets over 52.5. I think they'll be the best team in the league again this year. The Warriors under 47.5, the Rockets over 31.5, the Pacers over 38.5, and the Clippers. I really wish I didn't have to do it all, but for the sake of this, I'm making picks. I did under 45.5, but who the F knows? All right, so we did one LA team. We're going to start with the other LA team, who they put right next to each other. All of these lines are courtesy of FanDuel. The Lakers over under 46.5. They still have LeBron James, who is old as crap now. If you listen to the part with Ben, LeBron James would fit in with the Knicks 2012-2013 roster. I'll just put it like that. They still have Anthony Davis, who is always walking sprained ankle away from not playing for 4 to 6 weeks. They signed Gabe Vincent. They re-signed Austin Reeves. They signed Christian Wood. I don't know how much that helps. They drafted Jalen Hood-Schifino. They have a team that looks like they will or will not win 46.5 games. I'm going to go under. They're relying a lot on an old guy. Sorry, LeBron. I hate to say that. You're one of the top 3 greatest players of all time, in my opinion. You are old now. Even Tom Brady sucked his last year before he retired. And they're relying on a guy that does or does not miss 20 to 30 games almost every single year. I'm going to go under 46.5. If they make the playoffs again, which I expect they will, it would probably be similar to last year, where they get healthy at the right time and either get the 6th seed or win the play-in game. The Grizzlies over under 45.5. This is very interesting for Memphis because their best player, Ja Morant, is not playing for the first 25 games of the year. They just lost Steven Adams for the year, literally yesterday, which is rough. Because of that, I proposed some fake BS trade online, which it's literally so BS. I would never actually expect Memphis or even the Knicks to do this. It was Zaire Williams for Isaiah Hartenstein. And I'm pretty sure it's one of those fantastic trades where both teams say no and hang up almost instantaneously. I don't even know who would give picks first. I'm pretty sure neither one of them would really want to do it. They do have Jaren Jackson Jr. They did sign Marcus Smart, who's going to help them with leadership, ideally, especially while Ja is out. They have Santi Aldama. They still have Zaire Williams, who now is going to be starting with Ja Morant out with a larger lineup with him at the 3 versus it being a smaller lineup when Ja comes back, which is going to start Smart, Morant, and Desmond Bane, who's their best player currently, or I guess him and Jackson are the best 2 players currently without Ja playing. They were pretty good. They've been pretty good without Ja in the past. I think they were 12-10 last year, and they have in the past 2 years, I think it's like 8 or 10 games over 500. I think they're going to go over 45.5, and I'm going to credit a lot of that to Marcus Smart and their ability to adapt without Ja Morant. Next is the Heat over 44.5. This is one of my locks. I haven't even said locks yet this year. I'm going to have a couple in this part. Locking up the Heat over 44.5. I don't even need to look up their roster. Tyler Hero is going to be on a Warpath redemption tour to try to prove he's actually worth his value. He's only like 23 years old still, 24 years old. People forget how young he is. They just made the finals without the guy. Yes, they lost Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. Isn't Tyler Hero just a better version of those guys? They still have Jimmy Butler, who probably doesn't want to go through the play-in again. You still have Bam Adebayo, who is one of the best centers in the league, even though he's only 6'9". Phenomenal defender, 1 through 5, one of the very few that can cover all 5 guys. And they still have the best coach in the league in Eric Spoelstra. This is a lock. Lock it up. Bring your money to FanDuel, DraftKings, sportsbooks.com. I don't care. Find a homeless man and tell him you're betting the Heat over 44.5. Lock it up. We got the Wolves next. They are also at 44.5. I don't have nearly as much faith in the Wolves as I do the Heat. I do think they're going to go over as well. But that's a lot on Anthony Edwards first and foremost, I got to say. And secondly, will Karl Anthony Towns still be on this team by the trade deadline or beyond the trade deadline? Does he even belong on the team still? Like, how is Chris Finch going to keep utilizing all these guys? I don't know. They do have Jaden McDaniels. For some reason, Trevor Keels keeps getting brought up on Knick's Twitter, which is a weird thing who they dropped again because Trevor Keels belongs in the G League. They have the best third string center in the NBA, and Naz Reid, who should at least be a backup, if not starting for a lot in the NBA, if you ask me. They have Nickeil Alexander-Walker as a guy that is able to defend. Not as well as Jaden McDaniels, but still a good defender and tries his best to shoot a 3. They have the steadiest and slowest vet in the whole league in Kyle Anderson, who will get you a really slow motion 12 points and 6 rebounds every time he plays more than 25 minutes in the game. I do think this team goes over because they're talented. I don't think they do well in the playoffs because I think Cat is still a choke artist. And I also think that they aren't well put together. This team just doesn't make sense with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns on the same team. So while I would take them over, I would immediately bet against them in the postseason. We have the Bucks over under of 53.5. I want to lean under. And I don't think that I feel strongly about this, obviously, because they did just get Damian Lillard. I don't know if you all heard that Drew Holiday is now Damian Lillard for all intents and purposes. And they still have Chris Middleton, and most importantly, they still have Giannis Antetokounmpo. No, I lied. Most importantly, they still have Defensive Player of the Year candidate Brook Lopez. Totally kidding. They do still have Brook Lopez, though. Yeah, I just don't see why they would try in the regular season, for lack of a better term. Why is this team going to try to get 53 wins? I think they try to coast to 50. Just get a top 3 seed. Is it really... Are they going to be busting their butts and like trying to make Dame and Giannis play 60, 65 plus games? I guess they would want to play 65 plus just to qualify for all NBA and any of the awards, but I just don't see why I don't see why they would have to get to 53.5. Their goal is to win a title. If they can do what the Nuggets did this past year, where it's like kind of get close to locking up the 1 seed and then just tank, I don't know, not tank, but just rust guys up the last 3-4 weeks of the year. They fall to the 2 seed. They fall to 52 and 30. They're still definitely, they locked up the playoffs like 2 weeks prior to that. I don't know. I just don't see it happening. I think the Celtics take the regular season more seriously than the Bucks do this year, just based on age and trying to coexist together. And Dame is 33, turning 34. And Giannis is extremely important to what they do, but he also ends up missing 10 to 15 games every year. And if they end up 52 and 30, they're fine. So I'm taking the under. The New Orleans Pelicans, super duper hard. How many games is Zion Williamson playing? That's it. That's the whole question. Am I getting 30? We're going under. Am I getting 60? We're going over. Am I getting 50? I don't know. What do you want to do? Give me a picnic basket. Uh, damn, Vin, I'm not expecting you to answer me back on this, but this is almost as hard as the Clippers, man.
I'm here. Hit me.
What do you think the Pelicans are gonna do? Do you think they win 45 games, or do you think they win less than 45 games?
I think
Different question. How many games do you think Zion plays?
Well, you just told me how many he's going to play, so I'm going to say 65. That's your guess, so your guess is better than mine. And then I'm going to say
I didn't guess that. I said I don't know. I said I hope.
All right. Well, let's call it 60 to 65, right?
Okay.
Because he had a kid, right? Like you said.
He's having a kid or had a kid.
I think they
he's
have
allegedly
I think they
taking
have
the
around
season seriously.
I think they have around 40 to 45 wins.
That didn't help me at all. It's at 44.5. You just told me the range. Damn it, then you did nothing.
All right.
I asked for your help.
We're going to call it 42 wins.
You're going under, so I'm zagging on you, baby. I'm going to say over. I think he plays enough. I think Brandon Ingram's good enough. Who else they got on this team that's really good? They still have CJ McCollum. What does that mean offensively? A lot of good mid-rangers. What does that mean defensively? A lot of bad-ish. They still have Jose GTA Alvarado. What does that mean offensively? Not a lot. What does that mean defensively? A lot of good-ish. This team is just Jonas Valanciunas is like the center version of good offense, bad defense. Yeah, don't bet it. This is the opposite of a lock. The Pelicans and Clippers are anti-locks. They're like you could break into whatever you think their lock is on. So don't bet the Pelicans. I would avoid this with a 100-foot pole. The Knicks were there, baby. The New York Knickerbockers. That's Nick. That's Big Nick energy. That's a Jet thing, who you also should not take the over on. Okay, what's really scary about the Knicks is that I'm a Knick fan. I don't even know that. Pretty biased about this. I love and respect the continuity that they have. I think it means a lot to bring back 8 of the 9 guys you have in a rotation, and the 10th guy and the 11th guy, and if Fournier played, I guess in essence, like the 12th or 13th guy, are all still there. This team and Tibbs is a maniac, as we all know, and cares about wins in the regular season. You would imagine after all these years, he would stop of caring about so many wins in the regular season and would have cared a little bit more about getting his guys ready for the postseason. But at this point, old dog, new tricks. He just learned how to play young guys in the past 2 years, and he's learning this year how to play small, and both of those are basically forced by the front office. It wasn't even his choices. I literally bet and posted it today that I have a parlay, and the Knicks winning 50-plus games is in the parlay. They won a lot of games with Josh Hart once they signed Josh Hart last year. I think they won at like a 53, 54 win pace. They ended up with 48 or 47 wins. I can't remember. It was one of those two numbers. And then they smacked around the Cavs, who have a 50-plus win over-under total in the postseason. And I think this team is just going to get better. Every guy got a year older, but again, none of them are over the age of 30. Grimes is better. IQ is going to be playing for a $100 million contract, probably from a different team, but he's still going to be playing for it. Mitchell Robinson, I think, is done trying to do 360 3-pointers in the offseason, is actually just doing what he's like basically paid to do and got bigger and bulkier again. Randall is, I don't know, consistent getting 25 and 10 while looking sad a lot of the time. And I have faith in Jalen Brunson, the leader, who is also a year 2 of being the number 1 guy, go-to guy on a team. I think he's just going to get better in his role. He's literally just entering his prime. He's like turning 27 years old. Knicks over 45.5. It's part of my bet. The next one, also part of my bet. There's a lot of O's here. I'm going to have to start doing under soon. The Oklahoma City Thunder, 44.5. Over, baby. I don't even need to go through all the guys. SGA, Josh Giddey, one of my new favorite players, Jalen Williams, the dribbling Jalen Williams, not the big Jalen Williams, although the big Jalen Williams is pretty cool too. They got Chet, which means a lot. They have Poku. I'm joking. Poku doesn't mean too much. But I really just like how this team is fitting and put together. They are the epitome. This team and the next team are the two examples currently outside of the Spurs getting Wemby of what you would want to get out of a team that tanked year after year after year and picked up draft picks year after year after year. Is Ousmane Dieng going to be a part of the rotation who wasn't actually a Knicks pick, who then got traded to the Thunder? I don't know if it was before or after getting picked technically, but technically he was a Knick for a split second. They will go over. They were 40-42 last year. For them to get 5 more wins with Chet, with another year of SGA and Giddey and Williams all working and playing together. Lou Dort is almost like a seasoned vet on this team at this point, and he's the best perimeter defender they have and one of the best in the league. Take their over, baby. Lock it up. Lock it up. The next team, I also included in part of my parlay, but the parlay part I included was for the Magic to get 35 plus wins. Their over-under is 37.5. So as you can see, I can win my bet, and if I tell you the wrong answer, you could still lose your bet, which would be a big problem if anyone's tailing this, obviously. So who did the Magic draft or pick up in the offseason? First off, they have Paolo Banchero, their best player. Very important. My dog's got to chill out. They're starting to growl because I've been in here too long. Okay. Hey, they have a slam dunk champion, Mac McClung, on the roster, apparently. I don't think he's going to play that much. They drafted Anthony Black, which, when you have a group of point guards that can't really shoot from deep or at all, you got to pick up more of those, obviously. I'm pretty sure they're going to start Markelle Fultz, which is the shorter version of Anthony Black, in essence, of a point guard that can't really shoot too far, although his mid-range is getting better and better. They have Gary Harris as their vet. They have Joe Ingles. Why is he on this team? How long is he going to be on the team? I'm not too sure. I feel like it wouldn't be forever. Is Jalen Suggs going to have a role on this team long term? They just signed Cole Anthony for 3 years, $39 million extension today. I just have faith in Banchero and Franz Wagner. And they have his older brother, Moritz Wagner. I just have faith in Banchero and Franz, though. I just think they'll do what they can do. Wendell Carter's a decent center. He's getting better and better. Jet Howard is a sniper who was probably a reach where they drafted him in the lottery, but still a sniper from deep. I think I don't want to go over. I think they're actually a year away. I'm going to go under, but I think slightly under. Again, I bet on them to get 35 plus wins. So in essence, if I'm picking under on this and I pick 35 and over, I think they're getting either 36 or 37. So if it's under, it's going to be one of those, the betting lines pick this very well, and it's just under, if I'm right. The Suns, I'm going under, straight up. It's 52.5. Devin Booker doesn't play a full season all the time. Here, I'm going to look up each of these players and how many games the core 3 have played each in the last few seasons. Devin Booker, the past 3 years, 67, 68, down to 53. So he missed 29 games. And he's the youngest one of the 3. Keep that in mind. So let's go to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant last year, again, who is a 35-year-old man who's had a torn Achilles in his career already. Kevin Durant last year played 47 games. 2 years ago, he played 55 games. 3 years ago, he played 32 games. 4 years ago, he tore his Achilles. Why would I think this man's playing over 45 games this season? I wouldn't. I don't. It just seems unrealistic. He's 35 years old. All the Suns are like the most extreme version of the Lakers. It's like, and the Bucks. It's like, hey, we have this really high over-under total. We actually only need like 48, 49 wins to guarantee like the 5 seed. Let's just get to that. Let's get to the playoffs healthy. And just because I said I would do it, let's also look up how many games Bradley Beal's played the past couple of years and why they're probably going to go under, if you ask me. Last year, he played 50. Oh, these are all solid numbers. 50, 40, 60, 57. And now he's 30 years old. So he's just hit the 30 age mark, which it's amazing to remember that this dude is going into his 11th year in the league. And he started at 19, which is why he's been around forever and is only hitting 30 now. But again, he played 60, 50, and 40 games in reverse order. So he just played 40 games last year. Or no, 50 games last year, 40 games the year before. I just don't see all three of these guys being together all the time. And I think for a lot of these games, it's going to only be one of the three. And then are we relying on Eric Gordon being their next highest scorer? Can I interest you in some Yuta Wanababe? Maybe, probably not. I personally would have hung on to DeAndre Ayton, but I get it. It's soured. So his Yusuf Nurkic. Let's look up their center because Yusuf Nurkic also not a guy known for health. And for him, we have where are we looking? Played 52 games, 56, 37, and 8. We're looking great. Their four best players are going to play so much, obviously. We're going under. Next, the other half of the Los Angeles Clippers, the Philadelphia 76ers. Who is James Harden? What is James Harden? Can you be called the Beard, but like be around that many women all the time? Is that what his beard really is? Totally joking. Will they hit 47.5 games? I don't know. Joel Embiid is also another dude that's not known for health. Tyrese Maxey is awesome. And anyone listening to this that thinks Emmanuel Quickley is as good as Tyrese Maxey, unfortunately not. He's just not. Tyrese Maxey is like the really, really rich man's version of Emmanuel Quickley. If he's the second best player on your team, are you a 48-win team? Let me even rephrase that. If he's the best player on a team that is missing Joel Embiid, does that team get 48 wins? I don't see it. I actually think the Sixers might miss the playoffs. And if I could have added unders to the parlay that I was doing on FanDuel, I would have taken their under. So Sixers under. All right. We only got 6 teams left. And I really only care about 2 of these. So Blazers, 27.5. I think you can win 30. I know a lot of people don't think you can win 30. I'm going to say over because I do like the pieces you have together. Shaden Sharp, Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson, obviously. I still like DeAndre Ayton. Backs, you got to chill. All right. I think I called him down for like 12 seconds. I like DeAndre Ayton. I think he's a really, really good center who just didn't want to play in Phoenix anymore and got over the situation. I'm going over. I think they pull a feisty Arizona Cardinals level of competency this year. I know the Cardinals are starting to falter, which is going to make this a bad example, but they beat the Cowboys in the first couple of weeks. They looked like they were a decent team, surprising people with Josh Dobbs. I think the Blazers do the basketball version of that and manage to get to 29 wins. Hey, what's up, buddy? Oh my God, he just kicked the door open. That's what happens when you have a 90-pound dog. The Kings, 44.5, also part of my parlay. Lock it up. I took the Kings and the Knicks, who are both at over-unders of 44.5, to get 50-plus games for this parlay. Why? Because I like consistency. The Kings are nice. They were nice last year. They still have De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis with another year under their belt each. Why would I think that this team that won 48 games last year can't get to 50 this year? They sure as hell can get over 44.5. That is for sure. I love this roster. I do. I really like. They have another year of Keegan Murray, who's going to probably be one of the best 5 shooters in the league within the next year or two if he's not there already. Phenomenal. They got the EuroLeague MVP in Sasha Vezenkov, who's also a sniper. Older rookie. He's 28 years old when the season starts. So I think he's going to play a part once he gets used to NBA life. I really just like, they still have Harrison Barnes for how long, I don't know. They still Malik Monk, 6th man of the year candidate. Just really good team. They have Chris Duarte, who is another change of scenery guy. Maybe he's like Malik Monk's, protege for the way they play. Kevin Huerter, great starting shooting guard, just solid guy to run off screens and get points up. They're good. They led the league in scoring. They set records last year and they won 48 games. Why would they not win over 44.5 this year? Lock it up. Let's just so I actually have this, let's mark up my locks. So I got the Heat were a lock. The Kings were a lock. I want to make the Knicks a lock, but that seems really, really homerish and kind of stupid. So I'm definitely not going to do that. What was the other thing I was like really, really passionate about? There was another one of these that I was like really. Was it the Cavs? I want to go Cavs over 50.5 lock. Next. All right. So I have 2 locks. I'm going to try to get third by the end of this. Spurs 28.5. I don't see it. I don't know how many games Wemby is going to truly play. I don't actually know. I don't see a world where Wemby ever plays over 70 games or even 65 games in a season. It seems extremely unlikely. If I wasn't trying to get through this real quick, because football's about to start, I'll actually go through the process of looking up all the players over 7'4" that have ever played in the NBA. I'm pretty sure the number was that none of them ever got over 800 games in a career, because the human body just isn't meant to withstand that pressure and that like battle day in and day out at that size. It's just extremely impractical. They have Victor Wembanyama. They obviously have Keldon Johnson. They gave Devin Vassell that big deal. They have Jeremy Sochan and Malachi Branham. They have a really young team. Oh, Cedi Osman's on this team. I didn't even know that. They still have Zach Collins to help Wemby, but I mean, how much does he really help Wemby? He's not a rebounder in his own right. I mean, I think they're going to be fun to watch. I don't think they have Julian Champagne, St. John's own. Let's go. I just don't think this team wins. Like, they might get back-to-back first overall picks. Straight up. That's how I feel about looking at this. Unless Wemby is literally like one of the top 30 players in the NBA his first year in, which I think a lot of people are just going to drive directly into him, like a running back trying to drive his head into a linebacker's chest to get out of the way or to break a tackle. I just don't think he's going to hold up throughout the year. I think he's going to have to get bigger. I understand how much yoga can help. I do yoga of my own. Like, it really helps the human body. It's great. Helps out with so many things. He needs to get stronger. And I know he said he does his workouts. He just needs to get stronger. I'm taking under 28.5. The Raptors 36.5. The Raptors have never won less than 40 games, I think, in Nick Nurse's whole tenure. So now that they have Coach Darko, it is interesting that they are where they are. Why is this broken? Oh my God, so many things are popping up. I can't even look. All right, let's refresh this. How many times have the Raptors gone over this number of 36.5? They won 41 last year, 48. Oh, they were only at 27 a couple years ago. Outside of the 27 year, they were at these. A lot of these were DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry years. Since 2013, 2014, they've won 48, 49, 56, 51, 59. Wow. LeBron, man. Just no matter how many times you win, you can't get past LeBron. 58, 53, the 127 COVID year. 48. Oh, they were forced to play in Tampa. They weren't even playing at home, so that sucks. 48 and 41. So outside of the COVID year, they have gone over 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in a row. And now their over-under is at 36.5. Because they have Dennis Schroeder at starting point guard. They have Scotty Barnes as their de facto point guard, point forward, backup point guard. I don't even know what you want to call him. They have the worst McDaniels and Jalen McDaniels. Jakob Poeltl is a good center. That was a good guy for them to get back. They drafted Grady Dick to try to help with shooting. So it's not all on OG Anunoby and Gary Trent Jr. But Precious Achiuwa took a step back last year. Just wasn't as good. They're just so repetitive. They just don't overlap well. Like OG, Scotty, and Pascal, I just don't think should be on the same court together. If 2 of them were on the same team, I would say you'd have to stack their minutes. They have all 3 of them playing at the same time. I just don't see how this works out that well. It just seems great from a defensive standpoint, and they weren't even that great defensively last year. So it's like, what were you trying to do with this team? They were 12th out of 30 in defensive rating last year. I don't know. I feel weird saying under for them, because if they go under, it's because Masai actually traded his guys and actually started the tank. And I just don't know if he has that in him. He just thinks he's always won Kawhi. The thing is, once it works, it works. Like, he got the Kawhi Leonard trade. He hit that 1 year, that one time, sending out DeMar DeRozan. And does he think if he sends out Pascal, he gets Giannis? Like, what are you hanging on to these dudes for, man? Rebuild, like, restart. You're not a playoff team. If you are, it's the play-in and you'll probably get bounced again. You don't have a real point guard. You have an okay center. and you have a bunch of big wings and not great shooting. And Fred VanVleet, who was your point guard and shooting last year, wasn't good at shooting last year. His numbers fell off a cliff, which is part of the reason why you didn't want to re-sign him. Also, you should have traded him. You didn't get anything. You barely got anything for Lowry. You didn't get anything for FVV. I'm going under out of principle, man. Fuck. Oh, I swore. I'm sorry. Screw Masai. I don't like Masai Ujiri. I don't think any Knicks fan likes Masai Ujiri. The Knicks are suing them. So I'm immediately team Knicks and anti-Raptors, even though OG Anunoby is my favorite non-Knick in the NBA now that I can't say Nikola Jokic anymore. I'm going on under. Someone save OG. Hell, even save Pascal. Someone get these dudes out of here and stop making the two of them and Scotty Barnes all play together. It doesn't look good. It doesn't make sense. They're underachieving because of it. The Utah Jazz. 35.5. Fun team. How much is getting? Why can't I remember? Oh, how much is getting John Collins really worth from a wins-loss record? Last year, the Jazz already actually hit this number. They won 37 games. They went 37-45. So I don't see why this team would actually get worse with another year of Lauri Markkanen being the number one on a team. Walker Kessler, another year under his belt, becoming one of the best defensive centers in the league. Taylor Hendricks, I think, is a really good draft pick, similar to Jarris Walker, in that I have faith in his ability as both a playmaker and a defender. Way more so a defender for Taylor Hendricks. Loved watching him play at Central Florida. It was really entertaining. Colin Sexton's dope still, obviously. Great scorer. They're not deep. This team is a bunch of mid or lower mid. John Collins might be their second or third best player on this team immediately, which is scary. But, I mean, they're all young. They're all getting a year older. Dame went from the West to the East. Like, I don't know if the West got better overall. I think the whack teams got better, but I don't know if the good teams got better. Outside of the Suns. Allegedly. I'm still taking their under. I'm going over. I don't know. I like youth. I like when a team's young and they keep most of their guys and they let the best player become even a better version of himself, and you try to work around that guy. They got 37 last year. I think they can get over 35.5 this year. That actually might be my third lock. I have to look into it. And then lastly, the last and most likely worst team. Not the least fun, though. I got to give you that. Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole. You will be very entertaining to watch for the Washington Wizards. Will you be good? Hell no. No shot. You might them or the Pacers. They're like the worst version of the Pacers. This team might score $125 a game and give up $140. I don't even know if defense matters. And they're probably going to tank. Jordan Poole gets like a fifth of their salary. Then if you're paying attention, I want to read you all the names that they have listed on Basketball Reference and tell me how many you don't know. And be honest, because this is hilarious. Are you there?
Yeah, I'd say I'm the most casual in Big Nick Energy, so let's give it a shot.
Okay. For the Washington Wizards currently on Basketball Reference, there is over 15 here. So, I mean, this is probably going to be cut down by tomorrow, but they're here, so I want to say it. Have you ever heard of Ryan Rollins?
Yes.
Devon Dotson.
Ooh, is that related to the Knicks, Dotson?
I don't think so. I don't know.
No.
Michael Foster Jr.
Nope.
Taj Gibson, who they actually released today. So this is
today. I'm back home, baby. We need some depth down there. All right.
Yeah. Jared Butler. Oh, this is a 2. I won't even say the 2A guys. Kyle Kuzma, obviously.
Yeah.
Bilal Coulibaly.
Yes, actually, I do.
He is their draft pick this year. He played with 1B. So that makes sense.
That was actually probably my favorite pick based on his name this year. Keep going.
Bilal Coulibaly.
Yep.
I do like Olivier Maxwell Prosper. Xavier Cooks.
No.
Jordan Poole, obviously. Mike Muscala, definitely.
Yep.
Denny Avgia. I still can't say his name. I'll never say Avgia.
I'm going to go ahead and say no then, because if you can't say it right.
You know Denny Avgia. If you saw him, you'd be like, I know that son of a bitch.
All right.
Danilo Gallinari, obviously. DeLon Wright.
Who?
DeLon Wright.
No.
He's been in the league 8 years. That's funny. Tyus Jones.
Yes.
DeLon Wright. I don't know. Patrick Baldwin Jr.
No, it sounds like someone we would draft, though.
Yeah, he does. He does. Anthony Gill,
No.
Johnny Davis,
Yes, I believe I do.
maybe. You probably know Johnny Davis because he was actually like on TV when he played at Wisconsin, more so than being on the Wizards. Daniel Gafford,
Yep.
Landry Shamet,
Yep.
Corey Kispert.
No. There's 7 of them. I didn't know.
Okay, so it's like you didn't know like a third, so it's actually not too bad. But that's my point. Like they have like 4 guys that would legitimately make a rotation for most of the rest of the league, and then they have to play 5 to 7 guys on top of that.
Do you want to know why that's not relevant to me?
Why?
Miami Heat, before like they were doing this, like who were these shooters? Gabe Vincent.
No,
you know?
I mean, Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the league. They have stars, like they already have like championship almost pedigree kind of thing. Like the Wizards are put together to tank the same way like the 2016 Knicks, like those starting lineups you saw on TV were to be like, oh my God.
Oh, so they'll win enough to stay out of like the top 3.
Nah, I mean, I'm taking the under. I think the Wizards actually win in the teens this year. I don't think like it's 23.5. I think they will be the worst team in the league, but damn, Jordan Poole might lead the league in scoring. He might. And that is it. Do I want to make the Jazz my third lock? Let's do it, baby. I got 3 locks.
So
Not the Knicks, even though I wanted to.
So what's your lock? What's your bet? Tell them.
Okay, so the locks I did for this are the Heat over 44.5, the Kings over 44.5, and the Jazz over 44.5. The bet I made today, which actually now that I'm looking at this, the very first team contradicts what I put on here. So I'm actually a little worried. I might change. Looking at this, I might change the Hawks to the Jazz just so I actually match up with my picks. I had the Atlanta Hawks 45 plus wins, the Miami Heat 45 plus wins, the Knicks 50 plus wins, the Kings 50 plus wins, the Thunder 45 plus wins, and the Magic 40. Oh, I did take them 40 plus, so I should actually put over for the Magic too. Am I going to switch this up? Do I just make these match my picks? I don't know. But yeah, so I had the Hawks 45, Heat 45, Knicks 50, Kings 50, Thunder 45, Magic 40, and it was plus 29, 187. So it's $20 to win almost $6,000, basically. But now that I'm looking at this, and based on what I thought and said when I was reading the things, I might cash this out and do a new one because I do want to include the Jazz if I'm going to make them a lock, and I want to bump the Magic down. Yeah, I'll figure this out and post a new one. But yeah, so my 3 locks that I'm officially going with, I'm going to make a parlay with the Heat over 44.5, the Kings over 44.5, and the Jazz over 35.5. And I'm adding both the Knicks and the Kings to the parlay. So it's at least 5 teams. Once I get it for real, I'll post it online and tag that one instead of the one I did. And that is it for over-unders. And let's go watch some football because it's Monday night. Let's go Knicks. We're going to beat Boston's ass. KP, Mitch is going to take you into the paint, and then you're going to miss all your threes. And that's how we take a W. Going to be eating W's with Jameis Winston, baby. Let's go Knicks. Peace.